podcast world with Shake and Chad Belding back at you. Another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Another episode that I'm so excited to bring you. You know how much we love Tennessee around here, Nashville, Music City, the I-40 corridor for what I love to do and chase ducks in God's country, down around Memphis, Tennessee, over west into Arkansas and Jonesboro and all the way down to the Grand Prairie. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you as usual. You know what I'm about to say. Lynchburg, Tennessee, Jack Daniels, the most American brand in the world. It's right there with Anheuser-Busch, in my opinion. Enjoy it responsibly, be safe with it, but lean on Jack when you need him through the hard times, the sad times, the fun times, the good times, through the pandemic, through the quarantine. Jack's been there for us for years. They support our culture. They support country music. And I know that the man I'm talking to today might enjoy him a Jack Daniels once in a while, but we're going to ask him about his flavors of choice. This is one of the baddest ass songwriters that you will ever see or hear write a tune, sing a tune, pick a guitar. He's as country as hell. I love him. Channing Wilson, welcome, my brother.
Chad, how you doing, buddy?
Buddy, I'm doing so good, and I'm glad that I finally was able to run you down. You're kind of like a unicorn.
Man, apparently I am, but I don't claim to be. For sure.
Well, I come to Nashville so much, and I've been running with Leith for probably 10 years, and then started meeting people in that clique, that I consider like the real Nashville, right? The Brents and the Channings and the Adam Hoods and the Paul McDonalds and the Dave, the guys that I love to listen to and read their lyrics. And I've never ran into you. I think that I did one time, and you tell me if you remember this at all. It was probably 7 or 8 years ago. And Leith and I were in Midtown, and we were at Losers, and then there was a place next door or two buildings down. If you're out front of Losers, it would be to the left of Losers, and it had an outdoor deck on it. And did you ever play like gigs there, or do something like an outdoor deck, or like you would play like a Sunday morning show there or something, or a Sunday afternoon show there ever?
Well, was it the pizza joint down there? I mean,
I think it was. Did they have an outside deck and like a bar upstairs or something?
Mm-hmm. And they were doing I didn't do a residency there, but we were doing, I can't remember, some kind of BMI thing. And it seems like I remember Leith, coming in there. Was it full band or acoustic?
I think it was acoustic, and you were wearing a black jacket. And I just remember, that's the only time that I remember maybe meeting you in my 15 years ago in Nashville.
Yeah, I feel like I met you once with Leith somewhere, because I remember your name. I remember the Foul Life. And of course, I'm a big fan of Leith, man, since the day we met. But I mean, that time period in Nashville was kind of like, I don't think anybody's made any money, but it was kind of like a gold rush, It's like everybody was moving to town, because everything was hot. And so you're just meeting new people and cool people, man. I mean, the most talented people in the country was in Canada too, man. They're all moving to Nashville during that 5 to 8 year period. And so you just met so many people, man. I got to town about 2009 or so, 2010, and Leith was one of the first people I met, man, down at the Blue Bar with Drake White and Brent and Wayne Mills, and I knew Wayne for 10 years from playing in the bars and stuff, but and of course Wayne, as soon as he found out I was coming to Nashville, he was like, "You got to come down to Blue Bar, play the Alabama line," and then as soon as I did that, I met like pretty much everybody that I'm still friends with in Nashville.
All right, so let's have a country music conversation then, Chad.
Yeah,
do you I know you're wearing a Steve Earle shirt, and I know in learning about Channing Wilson, I know he's a huge influence on you, and he was one of the two that they entitle, or they kind of acknowledge, of being the man that made you want to move to Nashville, become a singer-songwriter. Steve's special. I want to get into his music, but tell me before I go into you coming to Nashville, what makes Leith Loft? Why would you say he's one of the best, or he's special? What makes him I know what kind of person he is, but is he a good songwriter? Is he a good musician? Is he a good showman? Is he a character? Should he be bigger than he is, or am I just blowing smoke up my own ass out of the last 10 years?
Man, I hope that there's somebody talking this same shit about me across somewhere. It's there's so much involved in catching the right break. I've caught some breaks, man, and they've been really, really good. And I'm so blessed and so fortunate. But catching the right break sometimes is the timing and everything. I mean, and talent is only really gets you, it gets you there. And then someone else has got to take that, and then they got to put it on a platform and go, we're going to help you get there, you know. And I feel like with Leith, he might have, you know, like never found that person to ever take him and go, here, world, here's this dude from Louisiana who is the most authentic, real deal dude there is, you know. And I feel like in a lot of ways, I never caught that kind of break, you know, as far as the mainstream thing. But when I first met Leith, man, I thought, shit, I'm gonna have to get better, you know. Because I thought I was doing this thing, and then I heard Leith Lofton, and I was like, "Oh shit, man, this guy, he gonna smoke my ass," you know. And so I didn't look at it negatively. I thought, you know, like I said, I'm gonna have to get better. When I first started trying to do singer-songwriter, I wrote poems and songs when I was in high school, man. But when I first said, you know, I'm gonna quit my job at Lowe's and I'm gonna try to do this songwriting shit, I went out around Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is kind of where I'm from, in North Georgia. And I went out and I asked around. I was like, who's the best, you know, country singer-songwriter in town? And everybody kept saying Roger Allen Wade, Roger Allen Wade. So I went and watched Roger Allen Wade play. And when I watched him play, I knew right then I was going to have to get a whole lot better. You know what I mean? And then the same thing happened to me when I moved to Nashville, and I seen Leith and Brent and Drake and all those guys, man. But yeah, Leith absolutely is something special. He, I always called him the modern day Jerry Reed. You know, he is a character and all that stuff. And I've written songs with Leith, and he's, I mean, right up there with anybody, man. As far as a thinker and a lyricist and a singer, I love his voice, man. Like I said, I just don't. The right producer, the right break, the right person believe in you, you know. And who knows, man? I've seen people blow up out of thin air, you know, when the right person gets a hold of them. It's crazy. The music business.
can he play the guitar like Jerry Reed? Because I know you can jam on the guitar too. Because Jerry Reed is like one of those guys to where, if he's one of the best ever, in my opinion. My dad turned me on to him a long time ago, but he's never really, like, when you hear about Jerry Reed, you always hear, you know, Eastbound and Down, you hear Burt Reynolds, you hear his acting career. You can dig up video of Jerry Reed that will just blow your mind on the guitar.
Yeah, no, Jerry Reed was probably more talented of a guitar picker than he was anything else. So to answer your question, no, I've never heard Leith play like Jerry Reed. However, I've never heard anybody play like Jerry Reed. So that's a question that's never gonna, you know, I couldn't compare anybody to Jerry Reed on the guitar, because his personality and his attitude came out through his playing. You know, yeah. You would see him on that famous video on YouTube where he's literally just burning the shit out of Chet Atkins, man. You know, yeah. And Chet can hold his own too, but who knows if it was probably kind of staged that way. Yeah. And because those dudes were smart, man, and they knew show business was show business. And if you think that those guys for a second didn't know how great they were and what they were doing each time that they got in front of a mic or in front of a camera, then you're crazy, because they knew the power of the business that they were running, man. They were all great businessmen and alcoholics too, but still, you know, they knew what they were doing. But yeah, that video, Jerry Reed apparently smoking Chet Atkins is legendary, man.
Legendary.
Yeah.
And when I started learning about you, I started learning about Roger Allen Wade because you at one time mentioned him, and I don't remember exactly where it was, but he is badass. And he's another one. Like, I'm from the Western United States, right? So I didn't grow up around a whole slew of what was going on in the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Tennessees and the Texases. Maybe, you know, in California they had the Bakersfield and they got Dwight, and they've had some, obviously, you know, the history down there with the music there. But I grew up with the people that were my dad was listening to, and it was the Outlaws, and it was Don Williams, and I never got into guys like Roger Allen Wade, or, until I started hanging out with guys that were from that part of the country. And I don't know what it is about him, but when you said that Jerry Reed, his personality came out in the way he played, I think that's the same way when you listen to a song or listen to him talk. I'm talking about Wade, and he's got that kind of that character image too. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I've seen Roger when I first started watching him. Man, he was playing a little bar called Bud's. And it was a legendary place in Chattanooga. And what's really sad is there's the Country Music Hall of Fame, which is it's this like broad brush that paints over the history of country music. And then if you think about it, in every little town, like there has to be a Roger Allen Wade out there, now not the same quality talent as him, because I'm here to tell you, I've sat at the table and written songs with Guy Clark and Roger Allen Wade. Now I've never written with Roger. We were supposed to a few times, but I know him well. And as far as a thinker and a poet, that man is right up there with any great mind that I've ever sat.
Like, would you consider him like a John Prine level of being able to mix words into where they don't belong?
Yeah, absolutely. But Roger has this sense of humor that's like uncanny, man. It's just I learned so much, man, watching this guy, and on the entertaining level. A guy with acoustic guitar sat down and entertain a room full of 50 drunk people and never lose them. And I watched him and I studied him, and I eventually took his gig because he was a raging alcoholic back then, and he would just get drunk and quit. And he'd be like, he'd get on the mic and go, "Hey, Channing's out here in the crowd. We're going to get Channing up here to play a song." And then I'd get up and be like, "Thanks, Roger." And I'd watch him walk out the door and his ass was out of here. I'd have to pack his gig up and count his tip jar and everything, And he was pretty notorious back then. But I learned a lot by watching him work a crowd, And I take a lot of pride in nowadays being able to stand a one-man band, by myself on a stage in front of ever how many people, 10 people or 10,000, and tried to hold them. That's the challenge for me. There's the writing the song, and then there's making people believe it.
Yep.
And so I learned that so much of that from him, and just the experience of in playing, 200, 300 shows a year sometimes.
And then you mentioned another guy, and I want to start getting into when you moved to Nashville and you sell your boat and you sell a pretty good bit of stuff to keep taking trips to Nashville.
Yeah.
You're committed to it because you kind of have an attitude of like a Johnny Paycheck song, like take this job and shove it kind of attitude. I'm rolling. I'm going to be a singer-songwriter. I don't need a boss man right now. But you mentioned another character that ended up being somebody that, again, I would think that most people that listen to country music on the regular, which, what is called country music, which I want to get into that with you. I don't know if you know my stance on any of that, but I've been kind of on this mission of getting the right country music out to the masses as far as we can do it, because I truly believe in your music and your songwriting and Leith's and Drake's and Brent's and the guys that we're talking about. But Wayne Mills was a guy that when you mentioned his name, before, and I don't think a lot of people that listen to country music know who Wayne Mills is until you start getting to know somebody like you or Jamie or Leith. The guy's amazing. The guy literally, like Brent Cobb said on this podcast, his last album was called The Last Honky Tonk, and he was murdered outside of a honky tonk, which was bullshit. But you were friends with this guy. He was a mentor to you. I assume he was an inspiration to you. But the bottom line from what I hear, Channing, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that like he was as good as anybody that was out there. Like Jamie was actually opening some shows for him at one time. And wasn't Wayne like looked at as that guy that was on his way to make it and just had this uncanny talent and character as well?
Yeah. I just started a band back in 2001, I think, called the Rounders, and it ended up becoming the Tennessee Rounders. And we were I coined it as hardcore honky tonk. And so we had a stand up bass fiddle, and it was a 4-piece, all attitude, and based around fuck pop country. We were doing that shit back in 2001. We were preaching that stuff back then, and that's when we thought that Toby Keith was pop country. We hated anything that didn't sound like Hank Williams. And MySpace. I'm gonna show my age here, but MySpace was really big then, and I remember getting on MySpace when I was just trying to figure stuff out, and I started looking at all these venues across the Southeast. I'm learning how to book shows and learning how to, we're taking a real punk rock grassroots way of promoting our band. And every one of these damn venues I wanted to play, I kept seeing this Wayne Mills band. And I'm like, who in the hell is this dude, So I go to his MySpace page and I look, and he's playing every single damn venue that I want to play. And I go and I listen to a couple songs, and it seems like the big one he had back then was Cross and Dixie. I don't know if you ever heard it. And I listened to it, and it reminded me of like just southern country, southern rock, And I thought it was pretty good. And so I reached out to him. I said, hey man, my name's Channing. I'm in this band called the Rounders. We play hardcore honky tonk. We're looking to open some shows. And so I'd gotten to know a club owner in Chattanooga, and so I always used that to barter, because Chattanooga was a hard town to break in because it just didn't have a good live music fan base there at the time. And so I told Wayne, I was like, hey man, you come open for us at Rhythm and Brews, and we'll open it for you at the War Eagle Supper Club, And so we go down there to open for this guy, and the show doesn't even start until 11 o'clock Alabama time, which is midnight my time, And at about 10:50 there was nobody there. And so we go on, and we got a 45-minute opening set. And I still haven't met him yet, because we didn't get there in time to sound check, of course, driving down from Chattanooga. And at 11 o'clock, I walk out on stage, and people are pouring into this place. And I thought, oh shit. So we do our 45-minute set. By the time we're done, there's 700 people in this place, 800 people, ever how many it would hold. And it was packed, man. And I got off stage, sweating, and we burned it up, and there was Wayne Mills standing there, and he was like, man, you wasn't kidding, dude. That hardcore honky tonk, buddy. I love that shit. And he goes, hang out until we're done, man, and we'll talk, And then he gets on stage, and we go out and start drinking with the folks, and I watched for probably 2.5, 3 hours. I watched him play until 4 o'clock in the morning, it seemed like. And I watched him do a mix of his originals and all these old covers, and it was after like a Auburn, Georgia game or something, so everybody was just hyped up, and he was like a damn rock star, dude. I was like, I learned so much by watching that first show of how to give the crowd, the audience, exactly what they came to see, and he was doing it to it. But yeah, he was great, man. And of course we built a relationship, and I would open a bunch of shows for him, and they could finally come up to Chattanooga, and I made good on that promise to let him open for us at Rhythm and Brews. And then he would reach out over all the time about you got to come to Nashville, man. You got to come to Nashville, And back then, 2006, 7, I was just like, man, fuck Nashville. I ain't, I ain't about that, man. I want to go to Texas and listen to some Dale Watson or some Terry Allen or something like that, man. I didn't want to go to Nashville. And then I had a kid. I had my son, and then that all kind of changed. I was like, man, I got to start taking this shit serious. And so that's when I started going to Nashville. And there was Wayne waiting on me, day one at the Blue Bar. And we can get into that deeper too, man. But yeah, he got a dirty deal for sure, man.
Oh,
and I knew the son of a bitch that shot him too, man. And Wayne introduced me to him,
Well, let's just start. Let's talk about it. I do, if whether it's this podcast or not, I do. I'm very interested in these kind of stories because now you're telling me that, you're tearing down honky tonks in 2001, which is 19 years ago with Wayne Mills. And like, I don't know, I could talk about it until I'm blue in the face chanting about.
Yeah, I don't ever talk about that either. I mean, it's just like most people in Nashville don't even know that I had that band. They don't know what I was doing.
Right, and that's what's so
that
crazy.
History is never. Yeah, I'm not one to just sit around, which is probably why I'm not any bigger than I am. I'm really not good at like just going, hey man, this is how good I am. Watch this, or this is what I've done. Watch this.
Yeah, I know, but you've already said that that's somebody else's responsibility because you're the one that has the talent. You've honed the skills. You can write a freaking unreal song. I don't know that when I just said I can talk about it until I'm blue in the face. What I meant is that I guess I'm just going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep putting guys like you on all of our platforms because I feel, I say it every time that I meet somebody like you, is that the masses deserve to hear your music. And I say this before on a podcast with Adam Hood was, if I have parties here, I have big Traeger events, I play music that I want to play at these events. It might be 80, it might be 125, 150 people. But if that's not enough consensus of every one of those people hearing a Channing Wilson song on your live record, that's really like the only thing that you can get, readily available a lot of the times. If nobody says turn that shit off or keep playing that, or who the hell is that? Where can I get that music? Or we play a song on the Foul Life like we've done for Leith, and everybody's like, where can I get that Wingman song? Where can I get that 50 Years Too Late song? Then why isn't that good enough consensus right there for somebody that has the ability to take a risk? Is it me saying, all right, let's go get a bunch of money and invest in a Channing Wilson career? And obviously this would be, you have a record deal now and you have a publishing deal and you make a living doing this. I'm just talking about breaking an artist, and how do some artists break and some don't? It's just a weird deal to where like you can be that good and that prolific and have that much history and that much knowledge of the game and then be played to these consensuses that I'm around of everybody going, dude, that's badass music. It would be that way nationally if it was heard on a bigger scale. That's all I'm trying to say. And that's okay. Go ahead. Sorry about that.
I'm gonna take what you're saying here and confirm it by saying, Facebook. I never was really a fan publicly, but privately, I was always looking at that shit. I'd wake up and I'm going through there to see what everybody's doing, just like everybody. But then one day, this Cody Jinks dude pops up on my Facebook, and I'm like, and I just keep scrolling. I'm like, another guy with a beard, whatever. And the next day, bam, there he is again, and then he's in my face every single day. Boom, who is this dude? And I open it up and I listen to it, and it's this song that he was playing. It's the iconic video that they put a bunch of money in right off the bat to blast it through the socials back when Facebook advertising first started, and they hadn't figured out the algorithms yet, and a lot of people were really were really getting their name out there through Facebook, and he was one of them. And so I use him as an example because he was a dude that's been doing it for a while, and I don't know him. I've met him a few times. He's a really nice guy, super nice guy. And I've seen him play a show, and it's great, and his fans love him, and it's just really cool. But I watch him, and he's this underground sensation, seems to be the word that's coming to my head, but it's just underground success story is what it is, more than sensation. And what that is it shows to me how hungry that people are for that kind of music, that, I mean, they're, I got a friend, and this is just me talking, right out of my mouth here, but I got this friend that's been watching me for 10 years, and he was at the show that I went and seen Cody Jinks at, and I'm standing backstage, and he ends up back there. And he's like, man, you think I can meet him? You think I can meet him? Hey, can you get me to meet him? I was like, well, shit, man, I don't know. And he walked out, and this is a 40 to 50-year-old man who was in the outlaw biker gang now. Okay. And he was so excited about meeting Cody Jinks, and he's just blown away because he's watched this guy on Facebook, and he has become a fan of him. And he was fucking with me, and he said, he goes, man, you're good, but you ain't no Cody Jinks, you know. And he didn't mean that like how it sounds. He just, you know, he was messing with me, but in his mind, I think he was used to seeing me. He'd seen me play probably 50 times, you know, little bars around Chattanooga, but he had become so fixated on this character, this Cody Jinks character, you know, and it was because they were so hungry for somebody to pop on the mainstream, to pop on their phone and their TV, and for them to go, see, I wasn't crazy. There's real country music out there, you know. And he was preaching my shit, you know, 10 years ago, and now there's somebody on the mainstream that he can point at. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he's there's some psychology there, man, and that he's that because it's larger than life to him. He believes it's, so big, but when really it's all around him all the time. And he's in the city with Roger Allen Wade, with me, with guys like Brent and Drake coming through, and now with Brent's success too, man, it's just blowing up. And so all these underground country artists are just, to me, I feel like they're all blowing up, man.
What do you mean by Brent's success?
Well, I mean, 2 tours with Chris Stapleton's pretty successful. Brent put out that first record of his, man, the first recent one, because he's put out records since I've known him. But the Shine on Rainy Day, man, like me and him, it was me and him and Ray Tier and Ratliff and somebody else. And Brent just got the mixes back, and we went up to Carnival one night, and we sitting there in Frank's office, and Brent played the whole damn record. And I was like, dude, because it was just night and day from everything Brent had ever done in my eyes. I knew that Brent was that good, but then when Dave captured and that sound for him, it was just, it was really just, I knew right then that Brent was on something pretty special, and it changed his life for sure.
And hence that's where guys like you and Brent have a place in my heart or my psyche, right? Because when I heard that song Shine on Rainy Day, you could not listen to that song and not either cry or look at life in a completely different way. And that's what songwriting is supposed to do to you. And most of the songs that are on, again, quote unquote, country radio do not do that to you. And that is hence the problem of what I call and coin cubicle country, of all these just robots pushing paper across, with these lyrics on it that doesn't touch you. And the music that was being written back when I got into country music, whether it was Chestnut, Travis Tritt, who's a genius, and earlier than that, the outlaw movement at the end of the 70s, because I'm 45 years old. I wasn't there when it started, but I grew up on Merle and Willie and Jesse Coulter and Waylon and David Allan Coe. And music doesn't touch me like that unless you go to something called prime country or something called outlaw country. It's not like, if it's on country radio, it should do the same shit that those musicians or those artists did. And I think that that's where you guys are. If you put your songs up there and Brent's songs and the musicians that we talk about, I just don't see anybody not being touched. And when you listen to that, or Providence, and you hear the wordsmithing, and if you listen to the song on Providence Canyon about there's a lot of jacked up trucks in the way, and I don't know if you know the song I'm talking about, but if you listen to that song about it's going to be, it's about Nashville, in my opinion. And it's like, when the dust settles, and that's the name of the song, is When the Dust Settles. It's like, damn it, man. People need to open their eyes and understand that is why Brent's going to be successful. That is why Channing's going to be successful. And thank God for somebody like Stapleton and Morgan or Jamie Johnson.
Yeah.
And Jamie Johnson almost did this thing in reverse, to where he went and got the record deal and established a #1 hit in songwriting and some fame. And then he said, you know what? I'm just going to go have my cult following, and I'm going to have a Willie Nelson type stage set up, and I'm going to burn the house and the crowd down every single time I go up here. And I'm going to wear loafers with blue jeans and a black black t-shirt and I'm going to make the world go, holy shit, there is good country music out there. And thank God for that, of Jamie being able to take you out on the road or somebody and keep breaking these artists and getting it out there. Because when I hear you say that about that album, I'm like, holy shit, I can't go to bed without listening to one of Brent Cobb's songs. That's how good they are, in my opinion. And the whole world needs to hear them. I don't know if that's preachy too much for you, Channing, but that's where I'm at with it.
Man, you know, the preachiness is just passion. And like I said, man, I walked out of my job at Lowe's after I seen a Billy Joe Shaver concert, you know, in 1999 or no, 2000. It was right after Y2K. I worked at Lowe's during Y2K and which was crazy. And I went and me and a friend of mine who turned me on to Steve Earle and all this stuff, man. His name's David Dowda, and he lives right here in Lafayette, Georgia, less than a half a mile from me. And he's a big record collector now. And but back then, you know, I would sit at the Huddle House in my hometown and write songs all night, you know, and just trying to figure out my life at 23, 24 years old. And Dave, he started making me mixtapes, man. And like the first one I ever had was like Guy Clark and Billy Joe Shaver and Steve Earle and Terry Allen and Joe Eady and all these great Texas artists, you know. And so Billy Joe Shaver come to town and Eddie Shaver was playing with him. And it was a 4-piece band, including Billy Joe. And I watched him at the Bud Pie in Chattanooga, and it changed my life. And I quit my job at Lowe's. And you talking about the take this job and shove it. My boss, he had got on to me for something and fraternizing after work with an employee or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was just I went and had a beer with a guy I worked. And I said, man, what I do on my off time ain't none of your concern. You know, when I clock in, that's when you got me. But when I clock out, you can't, you know, you ain't got me. And he goes, well, that ain't the way it works in the corporate world. You're gonna have to learn. You got to get to learn that. And I said, no, I ain't gonna do shit. I quit. You know. And I was like, I'm going to start a band. He's like, you're going to start a band? I was like, I'm going to start a band. And that's what I did, right? And it was crazy at the time. And but anyway, you fast forward. You're talking about. Lost my train of thought there, thinking about that Billy Joe Shaver concert. But you're talking about radio, country music radio. The one I'm gonna save you a lot of headache, man. Like I said, I've been doing this since 2000, and the first thing to realize is the radio is not in the music business. The radio is in the advertising business, and they don't give a shit. They just don't. I promise you. I mean, your local DJs and stuff like that, they do, but the program directors, the main, long table meeting radio people, they really don't care. They want consistency, because any business you run, you want it to be consistent right down to a sports bar. You want them chicken wings to taste like chicken wings, the same flavor every time, that keeps people coming back. And they take that same mentality to the radio. They never change it. And you can, I get the country air check emails because of the Luke Combs song that I had last year. And they come through and they're all talking about the same 30 to 40 artists, and that's it. There is no, they're not talking about, they're on there telling who's going live stream this week, and it's all the top 40 country artists. It's never like Sturgill Simpson's going live or Brent Cobb's going live or Channing Wilson and Adam Hood are going live. It's those same people, because they have a box that they keep everything in. And I hate to sound like conspiracy, because it's not. It's just business. That's all they're doing. And so the labels in Nashville, well, the first thing that I really learned was that Nashville itself is not the enemy. The people, the publishers, they love songs, man, and they're all songs people. There's a reason why Brent Cobb has a publishing deal, and he's had one for 10 or 12 years, is because his boss, Frank Liddell, is a song guy, and he loves songs. And those people that work there, they love songs, and they push Brent to write the best songs that he can. And I've been through 2 publishing deals, and I've had the same publisher, and it's Ben Vaughn. He's the publisher at Warner Chappell now, and he is a song guy. and you're talking about the cubicle country. Now, this is the place for cubicle country. Now, these people get in the rooms every single day, and they're writing, and it's I call it Mad Libs. It's like they're just changing the words here and there, but it's the same damn song. It's the same chord progression. But then those same people that sign and push for radio hits, they're also signing guys like me, and they're signing guys like Adam Hood and Brent, and they're signing stuff like that because they also know that there's value in that stuff, because you're not going to get a song like Shine on Rainy Day out of Ashley Gorley, who's the big songwriter in Nashville now. He's the big hit songwriter. And Ashley, I don't know him, but I can probably say without being a liar that he's not going in the room every day trying to write that kind of song. He's going in there to write a radio hit song, and that's pretty much what they're going for every single day. But so it's not necessarily the publishers and the music business people in Nashville that's the reason why mainstream country doesn't have a lot of the outlaw-ish kind of artists you're talking about. It's really basically radio people. They're not going to let Jamie Johnson can't even get on the radio now. Trace Atkins. I wrote with Travis Tritt for this project he's doing with Dave, and you got 2 songs with him, and man, I hope they play his stuff on the radio, but I doubt they will, because the radio is just not, they're not wanting it. They're keeping it very the same, what's working, because they're hanging on by a thread, man, Advertising business, Chad, they're not in the music business.
Yeah, you saw that.
They're selling that,
You would think that they'd still play George Strait, which they don't. And he even wrote a song with Jamie called "Kicked Out of Country," which is like a slap in the face to a guy that made country radio so much money made country music more famous than it ever was. When he started coming up in the '80s and I don't know. I just look like I just had Cody Cannon on the show. And I think Whiskey Myers is genius. I think their songs are so badass, right? And they're independent, and they got sellout after sellout after sellout. So it can be done, and you can establish that audience. I guess it's just a matter of timing, and it might not be too late. It might be in the next 2 years that there is a little bit of a change to where you start to see a little bit more of the Adam Hoods and the Channing Wilsons and the Brents.
Man, I think the change is here now, man. I just think radio, I think it's a dying format, and I don't think that any of these guys that are hitting it right now are even thinking about it. It's like one of those, I'm not saying it's a sinking ship, but it's the ship that's old. It's not the hip ship. Sturgill and Tyler Childers, and those are the 2 big names right now in this world, and they're not, man, they could give a shit about country radio. They're never going to get played on it. They know that. They don't even want it, because it almost would make them uncool if that's the case. But why would they? Me personally, I moved to Nashville to fight this damn fight. I knew that I went to town to stink it up, man. I'm like, this is where I'm going to go. I'm going to play country music. I better be in the place where it matters, and try to make it count. And the one thing I've learned is you're not going to get radio is just not going to get on board with it. And I'll say this, and then we can move on to something else. But my buddy Luke Combs got inducted in the Grand Ole Opry, and I was there that night. He invited me, and we invited a lot of people, and we were all it was a big party. And this one big radio head for I guess it's for iHeart, and I'm not going to tell his name, but he's a really good dude, and I've known him for years. And we were talking, and I said, man, I was like, answer me a question honestly. And I said, because I just had to know. I said, and I was like, forgive me for stereotyping you here. I was like, but when you guys are getting together at your big table, and you're deciding, the top 40 playlist for the next 6 weeks or something. I was like, and I know you do, and so like when you guys are like coming together and go, who's the new artist we're going to push to try to break them, I was like, do you ever look across the aisle and see a guy like Sturgill Simpson or Tyler Childers who's killing it in the real world? I mean, they're selling out arenas now. And I'm like, do y'all ever even consider putting them on country radio or a Cody Jinks or these people like that? And he goes, no, man, that never gets brought up. He goes, never will. And I was like, how come? He goes, man, it's just not what they want to play on country radio. And his words were the 30s and 40-year-old women that listen to country radio don't want to hear Appalachian songs and stuff like that. They want to hear the pop oriented stuff and the pretty boys and all that kind of thing. And I said, I was like, well, they're selling tickets, so somebody wants to hear it, And but yeah, he just told me, he goes, man, it never gets brought up.
But you're sitting there talking to this man, why a guy that's not a pretty boy and a guy that writes songs like you do. And correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Luke Combs is what country music wants right now, because he's not a pretty boy.
Right.
He's not the guy that's going to go up there and shake his ass. He walks around with a red Solo cup and his beard's all jacked up and he sings great and he picks and he's country as a biscuit. So you're sitting there in a Hall of Fame or a Grand Ole Opry induction of Luke Combs, and you're talking about artists that Luke is. That's who Luke is. He's country.
I agree. And that's how it got on the subject, was he was asking me about what I was doing, and I told him I was in the middle of making a record and different things, and I was joking with him, but seriously joking, business joking, and I was like, I'll send you the single when we get it ready, and you can get that shit on the radio, and then we got to the kind of just talking about the other stuff. But yeah, so Luke is an exception for this reason right here. When he got to town, I was there for the beginning of that, and he met the same challenges right off the bat. Soon as he got to Nashville, it was like, big guy with a beard, wearing flip flops, with this unmatchable voice, man. I mean, his voice just cuts through like nobody's. And it's coming from a guy who sings. When people tell me that my voice cuts through, but when I heard Luke Combs, it was just like, wow, dude, you're an animal. And here's the thing. Here's what made it different. Luke hit about the same time that Cody Jinks and all that stuff was hitting too, And there was this big like underground online thing that was happening through Facebook and Instagram, and all that was changing around that time. And there's a lot of people who got boosted by that. And then there was the people like Luke who, once that went away, the talent was there, And so he had made himself such almost a household name in America on Facebook, Vine, Instagram, that when that stuff kind of the dust started settling on that he was really the only one left out of that who was just destined for greatness, and he was smart enough to know the power of that. And I remember he was virtually unknown in the music business, but he had this huge online presence. He put me on his like Vine one time, and I got like 1,500 followers in 30 seconds. It was like that. And I've been busting my butt social media and looking like a fool trying to figure it out. And here's this, 25-year-old kid that just knew how to do it. And so he gets on there and he does this stuff. And then, so he calls me and goes, hey man, I'm playing a show. I'm doing my first rounds of shows. I put a band together and stuff. And and so I was like, cool. And I was like, I said, well, I see where you're playing in Rome, Georgia. That's like 30 minutes from my house. I was like, I'll come out. And so I get there. And now this is a venue that I've played, that me and Brent's actually played together, full band there. And the best we ever done was maybe 100 people, And then Luke Combs, first time ever playing shows ever with a band, his first run of shows. He's got 350 people in this venue, and they're all singing the words to that song I wrote with him. because they were listening online and on YouTube and all that stuff. And that's when I first noticed. I thought, man, I've been doing this shit all wrong, because I've been out here like in the bars pushing my stuff to drunk people for 15 years. And this dude's just been 6 seconds at a time, man, playing songs and then building that fan base. And they came from all over to watch him. And it blew me away. It changed the way I thought about promoting myself. I'm still not good at social media because it just seems weird to me, but I'm working on it. And but what I'm saying there is that he built that fan base so big that within 6 months I had most of the people in town knew that I was friends with him and had been writing with him. So I was the little connection through him. So I had people from booking agencies, record labels texting me going, "Hey man, what's this Luke Combs kid about? What's this guy about?" And I was just like, get on board, because he's, real deal. And so he went from nobody taking him serious at all to blowing the hell up because of that fan base he had. It was undeniable. And then once the Nashville people heard him sing, and I'm telling you, man, like at the beginning, and he'll be the first to tell you this too, there were so many of them. It's like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. Because they're in the middle of bro country. Sam Hunt was real big. I can't even, I'm not going to go through names because I know half of them, but that's what was popular. And here's this guy who just looks like, he looks like the guy working for the power company at the city, and he's just killing it. And next thing he changed everything really, as far as Nashville mainstream goes. It really showed. Chris Stapleton didn't do that on the mainstream level really too much, but I think mainly because everybody in Nashville already knew how talented he was. When I got to town, everybody, I got to town in 2010 or whenever, and people would tell me that Chris Stapleton's the best singer in town. And I'm like, how in the hell is he not famous then? It used to be the big argument. And now with the right platform launch, there he goes, and there you go.
And that was even kind of a slow go too with the first single he released back in the day. That What Are You Listening To? It really didn't hit.
Well, that's radio. Radio is just, they're not interested, man. They don't. They don't. I mean,
he still hasn't had a lot of. I don't mean to interrupt you, Channy, but he still hasn't had a lot of radio success, has he? As far as like number ones?
No, not at all. He's had.
One number one, maybe.
Yeah. I wouldn't consider it radio success at all. With the one number one or something. And they do play him, but like not the way they should. I mean, dude, he's such a talent, and like he's selling out arenas. He went from playing the same bars I do to selling out arenas in a matter of 18 months. He's on the same spectrum as Luke Combs is, as far as blowed up and the power of his name and the brand and everything. But radio, to me, still not on board with him.
I mean, holy shit, he's doing stuff with Ed and Bruno Mars and Timberlake, and just,
it's unreal, man. And I just feel like it's really it's sad. We could go on this forever, but it's really just it's almost sad that the country music fans out there aren't getting the whole story, because they would love it. They would love to have the diversity to hear Sam Hunt and then hear, Stapleton or Brent Cobb or me even on the same channel, because they love diversity.
That's all I'm trying to say is that I understand your comment, and I respect your opinion on the Sturgills and the Children, because those guys are insane, right? I will say this, like I like Sturgill's earlier stuff a lot more than, he's kind of
it's more country for sure, but it's just, he's and he's an artist, man, and an artist is. My stuff's changed. I sent Ben a couple of new tracks. You can check them out. But
no, I want to hear one today.
You have to change, man, and not change your whole style, but you have to. You grow as a man, as a human being, and if you're doing the same thing you were doing 10 years ago, you ain't doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're not telling the truth. You're not telling the truth.
And I do see that with some artists that are fine with that, to where they're not going to compromise. And if, like a Chris Knight, like when I listen to his music, like it blows me away, like always has, from Frame to It Ain't Easy Being Me, the ones that, you really know. And then you listen to his entire, the trailer tapes and everything of the river songs and stuff. And you're just like, man, this guy just gets it, but he's never going to be mainstream. And I think he's okay with that. I think Chris is fine with a piece of straw in his mouth walking down a dirt road, probably, even though his music's genius, right?
I always say this. I'm like, look at us, man. We're down here at a bar getting drunk and Chris Knight's somewhere chopping wood.
Yeah, it's true.
You know what I mean?
It's true.
Because, and I love that about him too, man. And I think as a fan, you don't want to see him change because you're a fan of him. But would I like to see Chris Knight have more mainstream success? Sure.
I'm just saying if there was that diversity. I'm just saying if you were the programmer and you had the Channing Wilson diversified, that's what we would call your country radio station. Like that's all I'm trying to say is that if you're going to play Sam Hunt and talk you through Body as Body Back Road or whatever, which is a catchy song, and he made a huge a huge run at number one with that. But then you cannot deny a Stapleton or a Chris Knight or a Channing Wilson that they're right there on the same, if not more talent. I'm not going to take anything away from a Luke Bryan because I know Luke can sing a country song, but I think that Luke got caught up in a bunch of songs to where I was like, I wouldn't be singing those. I would go back to, when you walked in, oh my friend, that song, and then like Tailgate Blues that Brent wrote. And I always talk about those two Luke Bryan songs, like play those, like have that on there instead of all of the catchy dancing on a tailgate and cut off Gene Daisy Dukes, all of that stuff. Anyway, it's just, but if you're going to play that, I'm not going to take that away from them. Just play a diversity of really good country music to where you don't have to go and search it out all the time. Yeah.
I mean, I think when you get to that point with it, man, you're kind of asking, you're asking a Kansas City barbecue guy to cook Memphis barbecue. You know what I mean? At that point, it's just like he's not the guy that's going to stand up there and blow you away. He's not going to be able to do, like we were talking about Luke Bryan, I guess. He's not going to be able to pull off like a Merle Haggard country kind of song. He has a style and that's what he does. And he's made himself a star doing it. And in my mind, it's like, man, go for it. I believe that they're doing what they believe in. They're doing what they love to do, what they believe in, and works. I would probably be the guy that would look at you, Channing, in a bar across the table and say, I sternly disagree. I just don't think that Luke Bryan, that would be a spokesperson for the Grand Ole Opry or the city of Nashville or an ambassador of country music, that it can sing a country song, and he's proven it. He just wrote one with Brent that's amazing. I don't think that he wants to sing a song called Knockin' Boots. I just don't see. I'm not saying he wants to. I'm just saying he believes in that. I mean, he wouldn't put, let me ask you this. If he puts out music that he doesn't believe in, then he loses all credibility with me.
But don't you think he has? Don't you think that when he gets on an award show and gets up there and sings a song called Knockin' Boots, when George Strait is in the audience and he's getting ready to sing a song called about God, the song about God, God in country music, and Miranda got up and did her little library that night that was as country as hell. You're telling me that Luke Bryan believes in a song called Knockin' Boots and getting up there?
Oh, no. Here's what I'm trying to say is that he believes he's doing what he's like. He believes in what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Maybe Luke Bryan's not the best example because I don't know him on the he can sing a country song level, because I personally don't think he can sing a country song. I've never heard him sing a song that blew me away country. Now, I know that he did Tailgate Blues for Brent, but once again, that's just a damn good song.
Oh, God, is it?
It's Brent. That's Brent Cobb's song. But here's the thing, dude, is I don't listen to Luke Bryan. So I'm kind of talking out of my ass here. I'm just saying that like they believe that what they're doing is country music. I don't think that they're going, hey man, we can't let Brent Cobb make it because that's going to make me look bad. Or maybe they are.
I don't know if they are or not, and I don't know Luke. I've met him. He's a nice guy. He's a hunter. He is on a hunting show called Buck Commander, which has got everybody on that show's got a beard like you do.
Yeah. Well, I've had mine for a while, you know.
Oh, I know. And I know.
I did that to cover up the double chin, man. That's all it was.
All I'm saying is that I don't think that Luke Bryan can go to deer camp with a Jason Aldean or a Willie Robertson or a Tyler Farr and have them look at him and go, "Yeah, man, knocking boots. That's a great country song." I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
I get it. And here's the thing: is they don't. I promise you. I bet you all the beer I got in my house right now, and that's a lot. And I don't even drink beer. But well, I do drink beer, but I'm mainly a whiskey guy. But anyway, they're not, man. If they're picking around the campfire. Honestly, take that back a step. Anybody picking around a campfire is not playing knocking boots. Even the fans of country music, they're not. You know what they're playing? They're playing Folsom fucking prison blues. That's what they're playing because that's what's fun to sing around a damn campfire.
And it's a good country song.
Me and Leith actually were writing. Me and him and Dave Kennedy, I think, were writing a song one time called "Around the Fire," and it was about that. And it was. I don't think we ever finished it, but play it down. If you're not writing a song that would sound good around the fire, you ain't writing a good song.
I agree. And, I'm not. I'm not. Again, I don't want to be the guy that goes, I know everything about country music because I don't know anything about it. I just know what sounds right, and I was brought up on good country music, and I think it's still out there. And I do think Jinx is great, and I do think Sturgill's great. And if those guys can hit, and Luke Combs can hit, then I think that the radio station needs to be effing. I say the F word once in a while. I think it needs to be fucking stuffed with you guys. Like, that's all there is to it. Now, look, if radio's a dying deal and you can go get your content everywhere, I would argue the fact, though, that radio is what drives a lot more ticket sales. And I know that Sturgill's done it, and I know that Childress is doing it.
I disagree, man. And here's where I would sit across the bar and disagree because I was playing a little bar up in Indiana one time, and this was about 4 years ago, and it was right when Sturgill put out his second record, and it was blowing up, and he was blowing up, and the bar owner, and he goes, "Man, you write songs down there in Nashville, don't you?" And I was opening up for somebody, I can't remember, and I'm the opener, man. That's what I've always done, and so I've had some good opening gigs though. But and he goes, "Man, riddle me this," and he goes, and I'm not going to name the country artist because I'm friends with him. He's a fucking super nice guy. But he goes, but I'll tell you, he's had between 5 and 10 number one hits. And he goes, I can't sell 40 tickets on this guy. He's had, at this time he'd had 4 or 5 number one hits. He goes, he's had 4 or 5 number one hits. I got William Morse pushing him down my throat. Trying to, I put a big guarantee out there and I sell less than 100 tickets. He goes, but I can put Sturgill Simpson in here and I have to do 2 fucking shows because I'm losing money if I don't. And he goes, why is that? So, I mean, the thing is country.
I guess you're right. I get
country radio. Here's something. Country radio is the commercial for the big country concerts. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm just telling you, man, like, it's like, hey, come on out here with the tailgates and the girl with her feet on the dash and all that kind of stuff, man. And they paint this picture like everything is this great, great thing. And people buy into it. And then they go to the big, outdoor concerts and stuff. And all they know is that, and it takes, but the thing is why I think the radio is dying is because they're not including what's happening on the other formats like Spotify, for instance. Spotify don't pay shit to songwriters. I can promise you this. And but what does happen on there is people listen to music, and mainly because it's free, essentially. But the playlist and all that, and people are finding out more and more about different artists and through Spotify and YouTube and things like that. And the radio is just, like I said earlier, they're just pumping the same shit down people's throats, and they're not
That is a good point, because I've always wondered why a guy like Chris Young or somebody like that, or I have several other musicians that hit. They just kept having hits. And then you would go and you would be like at a Brad Paisley concert when Chris was opening, and nobody was like in there even paying attention to him. And I'm like, does anybody understand how, first of all, the dude sings like an angel, but he's like I've always wondered that about musicians like him, and then you take a Gary Allen, who has had some radio success, right? But then was like, I don't know what happened. Like, he just disappeared. He like ghosted everything, to where I still see him pop up and he plays a show here and there. But I was like, damn, Gary seemed like he had like a huge following. And I would think that like a guy like Chris
the format changed, man. The radio changed. And you're right for the fact that the radio gets country music, what they call country music, out to the masses that listen to country radio, and that's it's like the country radio fans are the town, and the country radio is the general store of that town. But over in the next town, you got Spotify, and there's people there that's where they're shopping. And then, and I'm just telling you, there's two different places that people are going to get their music, and one of them's thriving and one of them is surviving, and that's the radio.
I want to have part 2 of this, because I want to keep going down the country music. I think you're very knowledgeable on it. I like to learn. I like to be a sponge on this type of stuff. But I also today, before we end this, is I want to get to some of your music, just so I can have a good day.
I forgot about that.
I have lots of songs that I want to hear. I think that I've got a little sneak peek into a couple of the new ones through the network that you run with. I don't want to say any names, because I don't know if they're supposed to give me little sneak peeks and stuff. But do you have one that you feel like picking or singing that you've written lately that has hit you hard? I love the two that I've been listening to lately. Can I say the names of them?
Sure, I don't care.
Is Chasing Down a Song, is that one of the new ones that you've written lately?
Yeah, or it's called Running Down a Song.
Running Down a Song. I'm sorry.
That's good. Yeah.
That song is bad to the bone, but I don't know.
Thanks,
I wanted you to pick and sing and put the lyric out front. So, and I love hearing people say that, the lyric out front, because I know that you're a badass musician, but when it's raw like this, I really love the lyric part of what you do. You pick. I mean, everything. Beer for Breakfast and Black Jesus. I mean, I could name a lot of songs that I could listen to all day, but I want you to play of like, what would you be if I was a programmer of my own radio station, that I play the right country music? Like, what would you sit across the table and say, hey, I got this one, put this one out there?
That's, if I knew the answer to that, I'd probably be more successful. But what I do know is what I'm feeling at the moment. And so over the last year, I've been recording a record. I've self-produced it. I got Dave Cobb's band to play on it, man, and they're just smoking players. And the title track to the record is I'll just say it don't matter to me. Because I don't care. It's called Running Down a Song, and it's a song that I wrote in this transitional period to where I kind of quit coming to Nashville for a second, because I had to really get to figure out why the hell I was even going to begin with, because I was you're wearing a revival hat there. I was running, helping Rob run that revival show, and I wasn't even, like, all my songwriting buddies were calling me up to get a spot on revival. They wasn't calling me to hear new songs or to ask me to write anymore, And so I was just like, man, I gotta quit. I got to quit Nashville for a minute, man, and find my new thing. Find out who I am now, And so I stayed at home for about 3 or 4 months, man, really. And this was a song that come out of it, was this Running Down a Song.
Hey, when you look up at the screen, don't get weirded out if you look up, because I might be holding my phone up because I want to record a little bit of this. I love this freaking song, man.
Oh yeah, man, that's cool. All
right, this is Running Down a Song by Channing Wilson.
dark takes its own sweet time. Cheap whiskey burns, but the fire's how you learn. Some folks call it paying dues. Hell, I call it having nothing but a good time. And you can waste it, chasing guilt and pride, or you can face it head on and sing your song till you die. Yeah, until you die. You gotta try and walk a line for the man up in the sky. When the angel down below's the only one fighting for your soul. The blood from your veins through love and the pain of years being gone, running down a song. Some folks call it paying dues. Well, I call it having nothing but good time. And you can waste it, chase guilt and pride, or you can face it head on and sing your song till you die. Yeah, until you die. Well, the miles add up, but they don't pay. The bills fold up real nice, but they don't stay. Rhymes come and go as they please, like me. I gotta ease on down the road, babe. There's a new sound calling, and my family name is like a tombstone chiseled in my brain. I was born out of phase, going out in a blaze. So fill her up, buddy, cup of Joe. I gotta go. I'm a running down a song. Well, some folks call it paying dues. Lord, I call it having nothing to do. And you can waste it, chase guilt and pride, or you can face it head on and sing your song till you die. Yeah, till you die. I'm just running down a song. I'm running down a song. Lord, I'm running down a song.
Good night, dude. Man.
Early.
Buddy. What's in the tumbler?
Oh, it's coffee, man. It's not a duck hunter's coffee. But
dude, that song is freaking incredible. When's the album out?
Man, I'm trying to finish it right now during this quarantine shit. It's pretty tough to try to. I got friends that I'm gonna get to sing on it and different things, and so I'm trying to get them in the studio. But like it's tough right now, man. Trying to do the business that we're used to doing. Number one, there's no money coming in on the shows, and then so and I'm self-financing this. So it's I'm working on it.
Do you have any merch for sale? Do you have any merch for sale at all?
I got a little bit, man, but I'm about to step that up too, just because people are supporting musicians that way by buying merch. Yeah, but I mean, I got some CDs and T-shirts and stuff like that
available right now.
Mm-hmm.
ChanningWilson.com.
Yep, that's it.
I'll put an order in today.
Sweet.
I need to be wearing a Channing Wilson shirt like Adam Hood was on. Did you watch his podcast? He's wearing a Channing Wilson shirt the entire episode.
The one y'all did?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet. I wrote a song with him yesterday, and I told him I was doing this with you, and he said he had a good time.
That dude he's good, man.
Oh man,
solid.
he's as good as it gets, man, for sure.
All right, y'all
Anyway.
check out ChanningWilson.com. His new record's coming soon. Running Down a Song. I can't wait. The last verse of that song, dude, is this. It's tremendous. Like, I love the whole deal, but the last verse just does it for me, man. Keep that shit up, dude. Keep it up. I can't wait to hear the whole album.
I appreciate it, Chad, man. I appreciate you having me on here too, and we'll continue this conversation later. We ain't even got into the cooking shit yet, man. I got a Traeger too, buddy, and that's all I do, man.
Oh, buddy, we're gonna have a fun time next time we come to Nashville. We're gonna do a big bonfire over at Lee's property or somewhere, I'll hit you up on a text with some different times to get part 2 scheduled, man. I truly appreciate it. I'm a big fan, and I'm just thankful that the day that I went to Hopkinsville, Kentucky on a turkey hunt, and I heard a man singing. When I got in the kitchen, I was the last one there. I got there real late, traveling across the country, and I heard Leith Lofton singing 50 Years Too Late, and I walked out the deck, and I said, who in the hell is this guy? And I walked up to him, I said, man, I got these production stuff going on and some duck hunting shows. I
remember him telling me about you, man. Back then, man. He was that's Leith, man. He's as good as it gets, man.
Oh yeah, but that right there,
I miss him. I ain't seen him in a while, man.
Yeah, I miss him too. He's been on the show several times, but that right there introduced me to. That's why I got to meet you. You know, that whole Nashville deal is it's really special to me, this network, and I'm so glad that I get that I have a platform that I can at least do my part, you know, and getting it out there and trying to keep pushing the good word, you know, that there is awesome country music.
Yeah, man. Well, you keep that up for sure, because it does matter. For sure.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, man. I will, and I'm gonna hit you back with part 2. I want to continue this. I want to get more into Wayne's story. I want to get more into your songs. I want to even talk a little bit more about I want to talk about Guy Clark, because I'm just now getting into a lot of Guy Clark stuff. Yeah. Freaking guy is amazing. So ChanningWilson.com, and on Instagram it's at Channing Wilson.
That's it. And Twitter and
everything. Too. Yeah. Y'all start following Channing and listen to these badass songs. He's got hits with a lot of guys. He's been on stage with a lot of people you've heard of, and just do some due diligence, do a little digging, and figure out the good music out there. That's what I'm doing. And every day is so awesome that I get to listen to these guys' music, because it truly is the best out there. Part 2 will be coming soon. This has been another episode. Can we go out with one of your songs? One of the recordings that I have of a song, or do you want to sing us out? Because usually the song that goes out on the podcast, Channing, is What You Gonna Do When the Money's All Gone? We're going to go out with a Channing Wilson original today. This has been another episode of This Life Ain't For Everybody. Please support the partners and sponsors that support us. Jack Daniels, enjoy it responsibly. Lynchburg, Tennessee. Thank you all so much for listening. Here's Channing Wilson. Another badass tune coming your way.
I could try and hide this pain. I could hop a train, head out west where nobody knows your name. Walk through these swinging doors, try and even a score. Play the fool again and let the heartache take the blame. When it comes to you and me, there's only one guarantee. You ain't coming back, and that ain't ever gonna change. I could drink this whiskey till I'm up against the wall. Eat these pills and never feel enough heartache at all. I need just a phone song as an old sad country song. 'Cause the weed just gets me high, and cocaine don't last long. They don't make a drink that strong. I found the only 100 proof. It's in the cold hard truth. Without you, girl, I've been living with the blues. So if I'm gonna hurt either way, I'd rather rather spend my days down on a creek bank, hooked on the bluegill, trading neon for shade. I could drink this whiskey till I'm up against the wall. Eat these pills, hope I never feel enough heartache at all. I'd be just as lonesome as an old sad country song. 'Cause the weed just gets me high, and cocaine don't last long. They don't make a drink that strong. I said the weed just gets me high. You know the cocaine don't last long. They don't make a drink that strong.